I bet you at Midway, someone was in their offices and they were like, what if we combined WrestleMania with fucking Mortal Kombat, boys? Because that's what this game right here is. And to be honest with you, I myself never actually played this game until very recently. Shout out to my good friend Shane. He mentioned to me, hey, you should check out that old WrestleMania game. And I myself wasn't completely sure what he was talking about. I don't know if that was WrestleFest or what that was. And he put me onto this game. And I ended up downloading the ROM and putting it onto my iconic arcade machine. And honestly, this game is a ton of fun and just a really good wrestling / fighting game on arcades that I'd never actually delved into, but in my opinion, it's definitely worth taking a look at. So in this video, I'm going to go over what I really like about this game and play a little bit with you and just show you why this game deserves to be revisited or discovered if you were like me and never played it before. So let's take a look. A lot of my experience with wrestling games, to be honest with you, came from N64 era games, but this here was something that was a bit of a curiosity for me once my buddy put me onto it, purely because watching other people play it, this played a lot different than general wrestling games. And this one in particular, in my opinion, plays more like a conventional fighting game than I would say a traditional wrestling game. Yes, there's wrestling elements. Yeah, your body slamming and you can throw guys out of the ring. At some points you can even pin them, but a lot of this, you still got your standard blocks like a Mortal Kombat. You can string together combos, but it has a bunch of wrestling centric type stuff added into it, which makes it interesting, makes it different than any other fighting game that I've played of this era. And the thing that I think is really cool about this is it feels really smooth and it plays almost like a 3D fighter in some ways due to the way the game is laid out, which I think is awesome. And the way they did the digitization with the wrestlers, like I loved Razor Ramon back then, but the way they did the digitized wrestlers here, to me, they just look so smooth. A lot smoother than even some of the Mortal Kombats of that time. So to me, it looks good and it plays well. And one thing I just want to highlight that I think is interesting, this must have been like, you know, trying to stay away from the controversy of Mortal Kombat of that era. If you notice, when the guys get hit, they shed sweat, not blood, which I thought was just kind of a unique little, I wouldn't even say a touch, kind of detracts from it. I liked the comical blood that you got in like a Mortal Kombat, but this one here, it's different. Now, the player selection here, a lot of these are wrestlers that I loved as a kid. So, you know, you don't have a ton. You don't have like 100 wrestlers to select from. Unfortunately, you don't got Hollywood Hogan or anything popping up on this. But you do got some of my favorites like Undertaker and of course Razor Ramon. But one of the things is each of these guys have their own like unique heavy hit. And sometimes it gives them a weapon. Sometimes, like you can see, for some reason Undertaker throws like punches a blue flame or something. But each of them have their own little special heavy attack, right? Now, one of the other things that I thought was interesting about this is when you get a guy, when you basically get them down to enough of their life down, that's when you pin them. This isn't like a traditional wrestler game where you just kind of tire the guys enough and then you try to pin them and see if you can get them. Basically, once they're dead, you get them to the level that you can pin them. But another interesting thing as well with this is you can also throw guys out of the ring, and I don't know if I can pull that off right here as I'm playing. Oh, perfect. I don't know if I can pull it off while here when I'm playing, but basically if the guy goes outside of the ring, you lose X amount of life while they're outside of the ring, and then they have to get in as quick as possible, otherwise you could potentially, I guess, just die or lose the match at that point. So, oh, sorry, let's get back into it. Another thing as well, so one of the things that I like about this is a lot of the different characterizations of each of these wrestlers it almost looks like they're trying to appeal more to a kid audience, which, to be honest, made sense in that era of video games, I think, oftentimes for a lot of people. were considered more of a kids thing. So there's probably a lot of kids who watch wrestling like myself, but also played video games. So you can see that the characterizations here are obviously a little like almost corny, if that makes sense. They're a little comical. They're caricatures of the real wrestlers. Like you're seeing here that when I hit guys, or when The Undertaker gets hit, you see skull and bones popping out. Yokozuna gets hit, you're seeing like, looks like hams falling off him or flying off him. But just little like cheesy touches that make this just a fun game to play. I'm not going to tell you that this has the same depth or deepness of a conventional fighting game. Oh, there we go, I'm out of the ring. Oh, I died. But the conventional deepness of a traditional wrestling game, but it's just a lot of fun to play, and it's stupid fun in a lot of ways. And I would argue it's probably a bit more simplified than a Mortal Kombat, but it plays more closely to a Mortal Kombat style game with almost a 3D touch with the movement of the ring than it plays like a, you know, a WrestleFest or something. So overall, I don't know what the following for this is. Typically, I usually check that out online and say, hey, I wonder who's been playing this or not playing this. I didn't really look that up other than having discussions with my good buddy Shane there about this game. I don't know if this has some big following that I'm not aware of, but if you haven't played this, I definitely think it's worth giving a shot. And there's a lot of fun to be had in this arcade caricature version of wrestling that I haven't really seen before.